Hello everyone. And welcome to episode number 60 of the Gut Wrench Podcast. My name is Mocha. And in case you don't know, your name, the name that you are given by birth, it's not as cool. It's not as hip. It's not as in as my name is. Take Arnold Palmer for example. Sure, he's a legendary golfer. Maybe he played some football. Maybe he ran a few chicken fights. I don't know, dog fights, Maybe he dabbled a little bit here and there. But you want to know what Arnold Palmer's known for more than anything else? They named a drink after Arnold Palmer. Did they name a drink after you? Wait a minute. They never named a drink after me. Oh, okay. Never mind. Yes, they did. My name is Mocha. Your name's not. Ladies and gentlemen, today I present to you episode number 60. And now I must address the elephant in the room, the low-hanging fruit. And what is that low-hanging fruit that I speak of? Well, for those of you who aren't exactly in the loop about the low-hanging fruit that I'm referring to, it has to do with the fact that next week, 7 days from when you're listening to this, just so happens to be Christmas Eve. The eve of Christmas. And the internet is buzzing. I mean, people have their notepads out right now and they all want to know the answer to one question. Am I going to go on vacation and just decide, you know what? No Christmas Eve episode. It's a holiday. Why would I upload on a holiday? You know what? You don't tell me what to do. The government don't tell me what to do. Religion don't tell me what to do. And I don't care if 9/11 was on a Saturday and I thought of doing a wrestling podcast. That's when it's going to get done. Saturday is Saturday. Much like I don't know if you guys can relate, but the Mr. Incredible meme, wherever he's like, food is food, or something, wherever he's pointing down and he's okay. You'd have to look it up, I guess, in order to get the full context, but it's basically Mr. Incredible and he's mad about something. My cats are a bit lively tonight. I do apologize for that. Hopefully she doesn't meow at me. You better not. Anyway, tonight's episode has a little bit of spice in it. It has a little bit of unpredictability, but the world can wait for that. The world wants to know, what happened with those scammers? And yes, they were scammers. But lo and behold, I gave them $50. I gave them $50 in crypto. Not actually giving them $50. And they drained my PayPal account, despite me not giving them the password to it. So I had to order a new card, because I'd be damned if I'm going to actually call up PayPal and then be like, hey, I gave these guys my cryptocurrency, my crypto wallet or whatever, and they went ahead and drained my PayPal account. So that's fine. That's okay. I'm not even worried about it. It's water under the bridge. That's the way that I see it, because I ordered a new PayPal card. It's coming in. I didn't change my password to my old one, but that's not important. And they were scammers, so that'll teach me, And then a few days later, I got on Twitter and someone followed me, and this guy seems a little bit more legit. I mean, if there was a legit scammer, he seems a little bit more legit, because he's actually got like videos of him for whatever reason, and he wants to talk on Telegram, which is understandable, more or less. But anyway, he's got videos of him for whatever reason, and I can't really say that it's of him, but let's say that it is of him. Anyway, he pulls out this card that's got like, it's a card that's completely white, and he puts it into a bank account, or an ATM. I'm sorry, not a bank account. He puts it into an ATM, and he pulls it out. And whenever he does, he gets like all kinds of $100 bills just falling out of the ATM, and then he's just picking them up. So, and he told me that he would sell me one of those cards. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? He's going to help me scam ATM machines. But basically, here's the premise. You keep the card, and then he loads money onto it, depending upon how much that you want. His first offer was, if I pay him $200, he'll load $500 onto it. And then from there, it goes all the way down to like, from paying him $200 to him loading $500 to me paying him $10,000 and he'll load $30,000, which is incredibly broken way to make money. But he's also selling drugs. I'm not talking about weed, okay? Oh, wow, he's smoking weed. Oh, how hardcore can you get? No, I'm talking about like mushrooms and just psychedelics and a whole bunch of other. He was talking to me about some shit. Okay, well, anyway, back to the wrestling. You want to talk about crazy shit? He was talking about mushrooms, and he was talking about like seeing purple kites despite there being no wind in the air. Okay. So I can't exactly tell you the date because I don't remember what the date was, and I failed to write it down, but it was in October of 2001, if I remember correctly, because I didn't write it down. Usually I write it down. That's where I'm getting at here. That's my point. But nonetheless, while I was scrolling through TikTok, no, that's not the right word. While I was scrolling through TikTok, Peacock looking for an episode of content to review, this one just so happened to show up. And when it did, it was under the category of Ruthless Aggression Era. So I was like, okay, let's see what they've got. And I thought for sure that this would be like one of those wrestling episodes where it would be fantastic professional wrestling, if not at least halfway decent, you know? But the wrestling isn't the key feature, of tonight's extravaganza, if that makes sense. You know, I'm trying to pick up my words here. Welcome to episode 60, if I didn't already say it, of the Gut Wrench podcast. So, they're live from Las Vegas. Now, I'm going to put the word live in air quotes because there is absolutely positively no way that they are 100% live, and I'm calling BS right the fuck now. And you might be wondering, now, why would I say that there's no way that they're 100% live? You see, they've got this big TV screen, basically. It's known as the Titantron. Most of us wrestling fans know about it or have heard of it. We've seen some of it. And you see, in that big TV screen, they usually film backstage segments. Who's to say that, for whatever reason, that they didn't film the segments? Let me try again. My audio up a little bit wacky. Okay. So who's to say that the segments that they did were live? Now, the reason that I say that no way that those segments were actually live is because you're given the idea that everything that the person who's spinning the wheel, whatever the wheel lands on, now I'm going to go ahead and say what they said. Whatever the wheel lands on is what kind of match we will be having tonight. And you're given like 13 choices on a wheel, or let's say 18 choices, because the wheel looked like it was divided into at least 16ths or 18ths, and I know for sure that there were at least 7 or 8 possibilities from what I could deduce from looking at it. Now this wheel, like I said, they're live from Las Vegas. So what better way to do this than to just spin a wheel, you know, and like Eric Bischoff says, it's about greed, it's about lust, it's about sin, it's about danger, it's about unpredictability. And that's what I want everyone to feel whenever they click that play button each and every week and come into my podcast. I want them to feel danger, unpredictability. You know, like, what the fuck is he gonna say next? I'm on the edge of my seat and I can't wait. I'm getting goosebumps right now. You know, heart palpitations, for fuck's sake. So, anyway, I hope that you all feel that way whenever you put on your headphones or play me through a speaker. My name is Mocha, by the way. Anyway, Despite the sin, the greed, the danger, the unpredictability, and there will be a lot, and I mean a lot, of unpredictability here tonight. That much I guarantee to you, the listening viewer, the listener. Bet you wasn't predicting that. But basically within the spin of a wheel. Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is there's no way, no possible way in a controlled setting, like a wrestling match, that they would just throw caution to the wind and then say something along the lines of, "Oh, I got a great idea, boss. Why don't we just put a whole bunch of wrestling matches on a wheel, and then stipulation type matches, and then go ahead and spin said wheel, and whenever whatever the wheel lands on, we have that type of wrestling match." Oh, that sounds great. Sure, why not? Just green light it. Okay, for the network's sake, for that matter, if it's almost like taking two wrestlers, putting them in the ring, they don't know what type of match they're going to have, and making them improvise on the fly. Do you understand why that's dangerous? Because they need to know ahead of time what kind of wrestling match that they will be wrestling, so that they know, hey, this is what we did in rehearsal, right? This is what we planned for. Plans and rehearsals. So here's just me trying to explain this. They probably took the segments that they aired on the Titantron, because Eric Bischoff was not outside, in front of a live crowd. Technically, he was behind a wall in his office somewhere, spinning a wheel. So they probably taped that part and then said, okay, we'll start Monday Night Raw out like this, because there's no indication whatsoever that he was live. There was no indication whatsoever that while they were spinning that wheel, they said, okay, we need it to stop on cage match. They probably did many, 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 many different takes before they finally got their desired result. Or there's option number 2. Throughout the night, Eric Bischoff, our titular general manager of said TV show, Monday Night Raw, he's at least the online persona of a general manager, he's seen with these 2 women, and these 2 women are Las Vegas showgirls, or at least that's the persona that they're given on TV. However, throughout the night, one of them is standing on one side of the wheel, and the other one is standing on one side of the wheel, and the camera never actually gets close enough to see them interacting with the wheel. But I'm going to assume that in one way or another, they might be there to maybe stop the wheel or slow it down ever so slightly, because as the results on the wheel get to spinning, the wheel starts to slow down a little bit, and the camera, whoever, I swear it's like they got a monkey controlling the camera. And I don't mean that in like a racist way or anything. I just mean like, a primate controlling a camera. Like he's just going all over the place. The camera starts to zoom in on. It's almost like it takes the 2 showgirls that I was mentioning out of frame. It starts to zoom in on just the wheel. And maybe they slow it down a little bit whenever they see their desired result coming up, or manipulate it in one way or another, because to just have those two showgirls there for no reason kinda doesn't make any sense. I mean, oh yeah, they're fun to look at. Sure, you could be a chauvinistic pig and say something like that. But they serve no other purpose other than eye candy. I'm not buying it. Anyway, now that I've tried to somewhat explain the preference of Raw Roulette, and this is probably the first, if not the second time that they've done it, but if this was the second time that they've done it, you would figure that they would, say, hey, welcome to Raw Roulette 2. Every match is determined by the spin of a wheel behind Eric Bischoff. This wheel has the best of Las Vegas has to offer. This is exactly what Bischoff says, by the way. Lust, sin, greed, danger, unpredictability. The first match to be a steel cage match. Okay, so you remember a few weeks ago whenever I talked about Deadpool? It says here on my notes that I should make a reference to the time that I talked about Deadpool, because Booker T, his theme music hits here, and then of course me being a big brain, because I have a big brain, I decided that it was a good idea just to put that down, because Booker T's entrance music was the entrance music that I used to come out to a lot. So before you make fun of me for it, because it was kind of funny seeing Deadpool come out to the most ridiculous theme music that I could think of, but the most ridiculous theme music that I could think of was "Can You Dig It, Sucker, Sucker," and then all of a sudden just having him come down to the ring, doo 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 doo. It's hilarious. Was the entrance music that I used? Booker T versus The Big Show, and it was in a steel cage match, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It was honestly a really good match, and at times you could see like The Big Show, calling the match. So whenever he would get Booker T in the corner, he would say, "Alright, dodge this one," or "I'm gonna suplex you," or like he was communicating to Booker T what it is that he wanted Booker to do, or what he was going to do. Now Booker T was mad. I'm sorry. Simple mistake. Big Show was mad because he had since lost to Jeff Hardy last week via countout. A countout victory that he considered to be a fluke. He has been a very angry 500-pounder. Yeah, I already said that. Talk about the segments, that the segments being pre-taped and the wrestling being live and in action and in person, and the possibility that it wouldn't. Now, here's the possibility that I would have taken had I would have been like a producer on the show or something. Wouldn't it just be easier to let the wheels spin as a result and then roll with it, rather than just having to do multiple takes of okay, well, the wheel got, how do we make this wheel do what we want to do? Or maybe, possibly, even off camera, maybe, this is a possibility, off camera, they would put like a magnet on the part that kind of, you ever played Wheel of Fortune, and then you got that one fucking thing that sort of points to the prize that you're about to win or lose if you hit the bankrupt part? Of course, they put a magnet up there to the arrow that the wheel is pointing to, and then put a sensor or a magnet wherever you want it to drop, and then you just ever so slightly move the camera out of the way of, oh, there's a big fucking giant magnet right there. I guess that's another possibility that I really didn't think of. But I would have just rolled with the first result rather than, whatever fuckery that they've got going on, because it becomes extremely clear that their segments are more important than their wrestling, because throughout the night we maybe see 5, maybe 4 wrestling matches in a 2.5-hour wrestling show. That is not very good. I mean, I could bring up the fact that AEW has maybe 8 to 10 wrestling shows in their wrestling cards, and their wrestling pay-per-views are 2 hours and 50 minutes, 2 hours and 35 minutes sometimes. Even going as far as saying that they're 3 hours and 10 minutes. And even if that's the case, it's still damn good wrestling. This past week, as a matter of fact, they had one that we're probably going to look at next week called Final Battle, which I tried to look at Final Battle this week, but it didn't work out. I'm just going to have to download it. See, the computer that I was using crashed, and I have a feeling that it had to do with those god dang scammers. But anyway, on 2 occasions you can hear the Big Show calling the match to Booker T. Booker T wins via low blow, then gets attacked by Chris Jericho. After the match, Jericho is not a sucker, says Chris Jericho. Before the night's over, Kane's life will never be the same again, is what Triple H said before he gets put into a... Now, this is hilarious. Triple H gets put into a blindfold match. I'm the world champion. You can't do this to me, is what he says. Okay, so I was going to bring up the Katie Vick storyline, but they brought it up before I could. So, at this point in time, I didn't realize it, but they're slowly leading toward the Katie Vick storyline. Because I thought, over 2,000 episodes of Monday Night Raw, what's the odds that I actually chose the episode where, H accuses, where H accuses Kane of murder. Segment that went like that. Yeah, I wonder if those segments are even on Peacock. Tonight, I put the tag titles on the line in a TLC match. William Regal asks Bischoff if he's off his rocker for booking all of these for booking all of this in the most English accent, using the word bloody a lot. This segment goes on way too long. The crew must have been setting up for the next match and cleaning up the steel cage match. Ric Flair comes in and says that he's got Sandy and Mandy, 2 girls that he met in a bar, that will be waiting for him in his hotel room, talking to Eric Bischoff, of course. As we go to our next match, now, as I stated before, William Regal asks Eric Bischoff if he's off his rocker, for booking all these matches including a TLC match, a blindfold match, a steel cage match, a Vegas Showgirls match, and we're going to go to that one right now. A Las Vegas Showgirls match. Maybe I should try that one again. I want to do a different take. A Las Vegas Showgirl match where William Regal versus Goldust. Where Goldust says, "Your country has a queen. Now you can be one too." I gave it 1 out of 5 stars. It wasn't very good wrestling, and for that matter, it wasn't even very entertaining. Once William Regal gets down to the ring, someone comes storming down to the ring, and they end up distracting the referee, and it was maybe like 30 seconds before William Regal popped out the brass knuckles, which are illegal, by the way. And whenever I say the word illegal, I mean like if a federal officer caught you with some brass knucks in America, that's like a $50,000 fine, from what I'm told. I'm not sure why. Maybe brass is coveted or something. I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with World War II. Like the Cuban cigars, you're not allowed to have a Cuban. You can have anything else, I guess. I wish that it was more entertaining, but it was not. Brass knuckles out less than 1 minute in, and a wrestling match, if that's what you want to call it, was over. 1 out of 5 stars. A vignette of a young, steroided up Batista. I'm almost 98% sure that he was on the juice back then. Christian gets interviewed about who to pick as his partner, and he gets to say, "I'll tell you who I'm not going to pick as my partner." And of course he talks shit about the Un-Americans, which of course are his, at the time he was in a stable called the Un-Americans, and I've mentioned them before. And basically they were 4 renegade Canadians who were on a mission to burn the American flag. You heard me correctly. Burn the American flag. Now, they could have done this so much better. Instead of calling them the Un-Americans, why couldn't they call them the Proud Canadians or something like that? Because I'm pretty sure that Canada doesn't really have a beef with America, and it doesn't really make much sense if you're going to go off of real world animosity. Why not put 4 guys together who are from Iraq and make them come over to America in the WWE and get them to catch heat over here in America while you're traveling the country, but, you know, get them so much heat and so hated in America. Like, the Un-Americans didn't need to be the Un-Americans. They could have been, like I said, the Proud Canadians. They could have came out, singed "Oh Canada" or something, you know, just to piss off the Americans. You damn Americans, you piss me off, you know, or whatever else. And being that they are a proud nationalists of Canada, coming out singing "Oh Canada," you know, then having the I guess at the time the Undertaker was the American Badass. You know, you could have picked like Kurt Angle, the most American team that you could think of, and then have them face off against the 4 Un-Americans, which were Test, Christian. I know I'm not drawing a blank here, but, you know, it's kind of hard to think. when you're under so much pressure. It's like Test, Christian, Lance Storm. Yeah, maybe there were three of them, because I'm drawing a blank on who their fourth member was, if there was a fourth member. So there was like two or three of them. I guess it's not the point. The point is, that they could have done this angle so much better, rather than just saying, hey, we're anti-American, anti-establishment, and anti-government. They could have been pro-Canadian. But anyway, Christian just says that he actually wants to win this match, so he's not going to pick anyone from the un-American team, which I thought was really funny. He said, let me tell you who I'm not going to pick. And then he says, I'm not going to pick anybody from the un-Americans because I actually want to win this match. I'm just like, okay, why would you tell off your own teammates? Jericho interrupts and tells Christian that the only person to ever beat you in a TLC match was me. But then says that they have a common goal, and that's to rob Kane of his tag team championships. And later on in the night, Kane's tag team partner would get attacked by Triple H and Ric Flair. Almost like a gotcha game, when the ladies walk into the room, I see what... Okay, so basically Trish Stratus and Stacy Keibler walk into the room, and they want Eric Bischoff to spin the wheel. They say, Mr. Bischoff, do you mind spinning the wheel? And he's all but okay with spinning the wheel. The only problem is he already spun it. So the camera cuts to the result of him spinning the wheel, and then he's basically holding it in place, saying, I already spun the wheel, and here's the results. So, either that's a clever take on, like, the fact that they were cutting footage just to get the result, or here's theory number 2. Theory number 2 states that Eric Bischoff is a chauvinistic pig, which he is, or at least he plays one, and a hell of a good one, on TV. And he just wanted to see these ladies nearly naked. So that's why I put almost like a gotcha game, because if you've ever played any sort of virtual currency game, or for that matter, any sort of game of any sort of kind, where it's almost like whenever you have enough chips or enough gold, whenever you're done grinding on that level that you can't beat, but you still try, or the level before the level that you can't beat, so that you can get the you can get shards, or I don't know. I play a lot of, for instance, I play Final Fantasy BE. It's Brave Exodus, and I'm not sponsored by this, but you need so many shards in order to unlock a certain unit, and in order to get that unit, you're going to have to grind out those shards, but the shards that you get are completely random. But almost like a gotcha game, I guess in reverse. The ladies walk into the room to see what match that they would be in, and Trish gets told by Eric that their match is a blank on a pole match, and it was already determined. I put already determined in air quotes. How it feels in a gotcha game when the app store is the blank will be a pole on a pole match for the women's championship. Now, I'm not really sure what I said there, but how it feels once you start playing, gotcha games or whatever. The blank will be a paddle. Excuse me, I read that wrong. I don't know why. The blank will be a paddle on a pole match, which I don't know how I read that wrong, but it's okay. I'm just reading what my notes tell me, Don't blame me, blame the notes or my eyes. For the Women's World Championship, Eric stops the wheel prematurely at the bra and panties match because he looks at Stacy Keibler and he looks at Trish Stratus, and then he says, "What do you say we go for double or nothing?" And he does. He goes for double or nothing, and I'm not really sure what he means by double or nothing. Dumbass, you already prematurely spun the wheel. You can't go for double or nothing. But I guess I can't tell you how to do your job either. So he spins it again, and this time stops it prematurely once again. And Trish Stratus accuses him of cheating and rigging the results in his own favor. And then he says, "What? No cheating. I'm not cheating here, But the wheel suspiciously slows down after gaining a lot of momentum in the in the area in which that he wants it to slow down at. So to answer your question, yes, I will be doing a Christmas episode. Thank you. That's what the internet wanted to know, so I just thought that I'd let everybody know one final time. But off camera, he moves his hand back and stops the wheel's momentum. The wheel's momentum suddenly stops, and the first woman to strip her opponent down to her bra and panties will win the match and get to use the paddle on her opponent. Stacy gets her butt slapped while walking out of Eric's office. Stacy walks by a man who's getting some water or a cup of coffee. He tells her shoes are untied. Can you guess what this man did after she bent over to tie her shoe? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. He stared. She bends over to tie her shoe, and he looks at her butt. The entire time, she's wearing some sort of spandex shorts. Almost like today's yoga pants, if you will. Oh boy, I swear. Just grrr, women's wrestling, man. If only it were if only it wasn't as it's okay. It's okay. You try to do something nice for somebody, So, our next match, after Stacy gets her butt slapped and then gets it stared at by someone else, is a bra and panties paddle on a pole match for the women's championship. Stacy versus Trish Stratus. They talk about Victoria beating Trish with a steel chair last week. Apparently Stacy has 41.5-inch legs, according to Jim Ross. Not sure how they measured it. Sounds like an awkward conversation. Hey, we measure your legs. Can we measure your legs for tonight's broadcast? Stacy's grabbing a paddle. Stacy grabbing the paddle from the pole despite her losing. So the caveat on the paddle on a pole match was the fact that the loser would have to have the paddle. I'm sorry, allow me to reverse that. The winner would get to use the paddle on the pole on the loser. So once you'd stripped your opponent down to her bra and panties, you could grab the paddle and then use it on the opponent who lost the match. So anyway, Stacy grabs the paddle despite her losing the match, and I guess she thinks that she can use it on Trish, but the only problem with that is, take it away, JR. She's not. Oh, okay. Despite her losing the match, do you want to know what Jim Ross said? He said, that's not legal. Okay. Well, I don't see any cops around. No one's going to throw her in jail for it. Maybe you need to change your terminology, JR, because I'm pretty sure that it not being legal would insinuate that if she did it, she would go to jail for it. Okay? She's not going to go to jail for spanking, just because she lost a wrestling match. If she spanks her opponent, doesn't mean that she's going to go to jail for it. I think the word that you're looking for is exactly what I put here. She's not going to go to jail. Jeez. Use the correct wording. Don't say that it's, quote, not legal. Say that it's not allowed or that it's not supposed to happen, you know? Nonetheless, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Kind of entertaining, and wasn't that good of a wrestling match, I wouldn't say, but it was kind of entertaining. And by the way, the reason that I'm not complaining about card position, the position of these matches on the card, usually I'm complaining about, like the first match that they had was a cage match. That shouldn't have been the first match that they had to open, but I mean, it's not important. The reason that I'm not complaining is because I wrote them down in the order that they were announced in. The only problem with that is they were not. The order that I'm doing them in was the order that they were announced in, not the order that they happened in. So they would announce a match, and then after that, they would go to a impromptu match instead of the match that they just got done announcing. It's kind of confusing. Victoria interview where she says, I am attacking Trish to get her attention. Go ask her yourself why I'm attacking her. She's hurt a lot of people, including me. Las Vegas street fight. We spun the wheel again, and Eric Bischoff has a Las Vegas street fight hit on that wheel. So, Test versus Al Snow. He came about, so, this match in particular, I don't know how they did it. But test came about 3.1 seconds and 2/4 of a half a foot or a half an inch away from being hit in the head with a bowling ball. He does hit him in the head with a bowling ball, but the first shot looked unprotected compared to the second. 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5 stars. But tonight's Raw is sponsored by The Ring. Before you see it, you die. Okay, so turns out that I did write down the date. The Ring, October 18th, will hit theaters. Okay, so this was before October 18th. It was probably the first week of October in 2001. That's important because I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that The Ring, that movie about that chick, whenever you don't watch this or else you'll die in 3 days or whatever, that movie, I'm pretty sure that it came out in like 2016, 2019, somewhere around there. And I'm jumping a 3-year time because I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's a recent movie, right? It's not something from 2001. Am I missing something? I mean, this is definitely not the movie review podcast, and I never want it to be the movie review podcast because that would be so boring and tiresome. Okay, look. I'm pretty sure that The Ring did not come out in 2001, and you can't convince me otherwise unless the other movie that was more recent was a remake, in which case nobody told me that. So you can't blame me, you gotta blame the notes. Anyway, remake of the okay, so our next match is Stevie Richards versus Jerry Lawler. Now, can you guess? Can you just go ahead, close your eyes, pretend like we're spinning a wheel. Can you guess what match? Go ahead, take a guess. Write it down on a piece of paper. Envision it in your mind, because you'll never get it right. You remember how I said something about unpredictability? Bam! 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 Bet you didn't see that one coming. Well, you also didn't see this one coming. I bet you didn't see this one coming. I'll bet my house you didn't see this one coming. Because this right here, this Stevie Richards versus Jerry Lawler, do you want to know what kind of match it was? It was a It's Legal in Nevada match. That's right. It's a match that no one's ever even heard of, and that's how unpredictable this podcast is. Boom. Next level. Compete with that, Jim Cornette. I bet you won't. I bet you won't. Over here looking at 2023, 2022 pay-per-views. Meanwhile, I'm still stuck in 2001, and I'm looking at It's Legal in Nevada. Now, what was legal in Nevada in 2001? I'm wondering what it was. And then The Godfather's music plays. And if you know what The Godfather stands for, then you understand exactly what's legal in Nevada. So he comes out, he's got a microphone, the man's got something to say, and then he says, everybody, basically, he's like, okay, so I got an idea. I know what you're all thinking. It's time for everybody's favorite train, the Ho Ho Train. And he basically lays it on thick. He lets you know exactly what's going to happen before it even happens. The winner of the It's Legal in Nevada match, do you want to know what the winner gets? Well, that's very easy. The winner gets to ride the Ho Train. That's right, you heard it. Prostitution is legal in Nevada in 2001. Whether or not it still is, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Now, as I said earlier, this is not in order. It kind of sucks, because I'd prefer to put them in order. However, I can't do that, because, organizing my notes, it's going to be kind of hard to do that. A vignette from Randy Orton. They say that he's, quote, a legend in the making. While Kane is being interviewed, which is a mistake, by the way. So the entire Kane arc, if you think about it, is kind of wonky, because what happened to the big red monster that everybody knows, what happened to the soul of a wandering demon who, I don't even know if I'm making this shit up or not, but hey, wait a minute, that's gotta be Kane, cause he showed up at the 1994 Bad Blood pay-per-view to confront his brother, with their father rather, supporting him. And there's also like a comic book, you heard me correctly, there's a comic book to depict the relationship between Paul Bearer, Kane, and The Undertaker. So you can probably find that either on eBay, or where I found it was YouTube. But in order to understand the character of Kane, you would have to understand more the character of The Undertaker. The Undertaker defeats Shawn Michaels, if memory serves me correctly, in the first Hell in a Cell match. And the next thing you know, Hellfire and Brimstone, oh my god, it's Kane. That's gotta be Kane, The Undertaker's long lost brother. Something of that nature. And then after that, he was like a killing machine who didn't listen to anyone. In prior years would go by, he would get a girlfriend, and then he would get social skills, and he would not be a pyromaniac as much as he was before. And he would start hanging out with X-Pac, form a bond there. And then after X-Pac, he would start hanging out with Hurricane, who's we're going to talk about right now. Kane being interviewed, being a mistake, the character arc of Kane, at least how it started from The Undertaker's brother who died in a house fire, to a semi-lovable big red hero. Kane's interview gets interrupted, even though it's spelled interrupted wrong, it's not important, by Jonathan Coachman. To tell Kane that his tag team partner is being beat up by H and Flair. Almost like every movie villain, or the one that comes to mind, well, I put 2 examples, but the one movie, rather, the one, well, not movie, it's more or less like, have you guys ever watched that TV show called Burn Notice? Well, there's a reoccurring theme in that TV show, Burn Notice, with Michael Weston. And that reoccurring theme is almost like every second or third episode, if they can't get to Michael, they're going to get to his family. I can't tell you a number of times that I've seen that man say, "Here, Mom, here's $600, go stay in a hotel room," and then she'll be like, but Michael, you're gonna blow my house up. And then he'll be like, yeah, don't worry about it. So she'll go stay in a hotel room or something so the big bad men don't come and get her, or something like that. And it's always funny in a way, but Michael, you're gonna blow my house up. Okay, but you better not blow anything up, or if they can't get to Michael, then they'll get to his girlfriend or the people that he loves. That's what makes a good movie villain, And that's practically what Triple H is right now. Because instead of saying, hey, I got an idea, how about we go take out Kane before his big match? He decides that it's a good idea. You know what? He's got that big TLC Fatal 4-Way match coming up, which he does. It's the main event. Don't worry, we'll get to that. But instead of getting to Kane, the biggest, 6'10", 325 pounder, instead of doing that, he goes for the Hurricane, who's 5'9", maybe, 175 pounds, dry, 200 pounds wet. He goes for the Hurricane. And he beats up the Hurricane. So much so that the Hurricane doesn't wrestle in their big Fatal 4-Way TLC match. Did I mention that it's a tag team match? Oh, did I also mention that I hate multi-man matches? I'm pretty sure I mentioned that throughout this entire series. But anyway, you remember that episode, that TV show, Burn Notice. And if that relatability factor for Triple H didn't already kick in, if you had ever played a video game called Final Fantasy, in Final Fantasy VII, there's a character, and his name is Sephiroth. And Sephiroth is the titular bad guy in Final Fantasy VII. And the way that he becomes the bad guy, at least through the eyes of one of our main characters, her name is Tifa, is because Sephiroth murders Tifa's parents. And almost like Michael from Burn Notice, if the villain can't get to you, which I'm sure that he could have gotten to Tifa if he wanted to, I'm not really sure what was stopping him. He's a fucking one-winged angel. Like a demigod of some sort. But for whatever reason, and it's still unexplained to me, probably for story-driven narrative reasons, rather, Sephiroth chose to murder, yes, there's that word again, murder, Tifa's parents. And piss her off so much that she decided to bring a group of 5 or 6 people together, name them Avalanche, hunt this motherfucker down and kill him. Gets involved with party in one way of killing Tifa, one of the main characters' parents. Now, before we talk about the main event, because this is not in order, we first must talk about the co-main event, what I've come to know as the co-main event at least. Triple H versus D'Lo Brown in a blindfolded match. So here's how this works. Both competitors are blindfolded, But the only problem is they're not actually blindfolded. You see, if you would have done this right, you would have actually blindfolded both competitors. But instead, so that hilarity and fuckery could ensue, and how fucked up in the mind do you have to be to blindfold two people, right? And then put them in a wrestling ring together, okay? Or do you follow me? Because it was so funny to watch. Well, there was only one person in the entire wrestling ring that wasn't, like, blindfolded, and that was the referee. And at one point, D'Lo Brown grabs referee Earl Hebner, and he's threatening to hit him because he doesn't know that it's not Triple H. So hilarity ensues, and just because it was so entertaining, right? Just because this match was so entertaining, even if it was like 2 or 3 minutes long, and it ends with like Triple H cheating, kinda, by getting Ric Flair involved. Flair gets in the ring, right? And then he's distracting the referee, and while the referee's distracted, Triple H raises his blindfold so that he can see to hit the pedigree, and whenever he hits the pedigree, he just puts the blindfold back on. Ric Flair rolls out of the ring, and then 1, 2, 3, game over, right? At least for D'Lo Brown. I shouldn't say game over, because that's more or less a Triple H thing whenever he loses, and in this case, he did win. Only been one other blindfolded match to JR's knowledge. Jake the Snake versus Rick Martel at WrestleMania 7. Okay, so they talk about Kane being the first possible person to make history by holding the tag titles, the IC title, the Intercontinental title, the World title. But before this, I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong, I'm somewhat certain that Triple H and Steve Austin did the same thing, if I remember correctly, with a group called the Two-Man Power Trip. Did the same thing, but a lot better, because of how inconsistent they're treating a story that they themselves built just to almost piss on it later. I would say it's good character evolution, but it's not, because it does nothing for the story arc already built for Kane, so it's not really any sort of evolution. They didn't even try to fix the arc by going back and saying everything you heard about Kane before in the past was a lie, and then start to try to build a new truth. Seeing Jeff Hardy ladder spot where he just breaks Kane in half was noteworthy. It also looks like a Home Depot on the outside of the wrestling ring, because you got bodies, you got tables, you got chairs, you got ladders. Kane catches up to his ambushed tag team partner, yells out loud. Okay, so whenever Triple H is kind of funny, but it's kind of, not funny, but in a way, you'll see. So whenever Kane finally catches up to his ambushed tag team partner, he points straight at Ric Flair, and he points straight at Triple H, and then he says, "You son of a bitch!" So he doesn't chase after them or anything. He just goes, "No!" And then he's just like, "You son of a bitch!" So then we go to our main event. A TLC 4-way, 4-team match as the tag team championships. I didn't write that down, but the tag team championships are on the line as Kane versus Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy versus Bubba Ray Dudley and Spike Dudley versus Christian and Y2J Chris Jericho. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a hell of a main event, and everybody got their crap in. Jeff Hardy puts Kane through a table. I'm almost certain Jeff Hardy gets put through a table. Bubba, you get a lot of Bubba Ray Dudley spots. You get a lot of Spike Dudley spots. Spike gets put through a table. Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam work extremely well together. Christian and Jericho work really well together, and at times it actually felt like a Fatal 4-Way rather than what they usually do with Fatal 4-Ways, which, in case you don't know, is kind of like this. 4 people start the match, 2 people go outside, and one person from the ring sort of goes outside, chases someone who's outside the ring. One person stays inside the ring and taunts the other 3 who are outside the ring. And one by one, whenever all 3 of those men or women are knocked down, one by one, they start to slowly get up and then get in the ring. So it's kind of like you'll get some spots with like 2 people in the ring at the same time, and then 2 people laying outside waiting for either their cue or they're waiting for the person to get knocked out of the ring so that they can come in. You know, there's never 4 people in the ring at the same time. And it kind of feels like, oh, this is just their version of a Fatal 4-Way. Sorry, let me try that one again. This is just their version of a Fatal 4-Way rather than it actually being a Fatal 4-Way. This match, however, did not, I repeat, did not have that problem, because at all times, someone, if not anyone, to represent all of these teams were in the ring. At all times, and almost all the time. It ended up being Kane to take the championship back by himself, despite him only being one person competing in a practical 3-way handicap match. And afterwards, this is the bombshell that they end on. I don't think I've ever seen a Monday Night Raw episode end like this. So Triple H comes out, right? And he's got a microphone, and he's basically like, I bet you think you're hot shit, don't you, Kane? You little, you 300-pound piece of, piece of trash. He's like, well, Kane, I've got news for you, because I said that you would never be the same again, which he did. Well, your mom's a poopy nose. I'm joking. So basically what Triple H does is he comes out and then he says, you didn't think people would find out, did you, Kane? Find out about Katie Vick? And then he keeps saying it like that too. Like, Katie Vick. He basically says that there was this girl. He gives you a little bit of story, not a lot. It's almost like they're going to come up with it later. But he basically comes out and says that Cain murdered someone and he didn't think anyone else would find out about it or would track him down for it, about it. No one else was going to find out about it until Triple H let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. Spilled the beans, so to speak. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. Don't you dare. I'm please don't do this again. Time to sell your jewelry online? Listen, I don't have... Okay, I get it. This is just a running gag, isn't it? You think you're funny. What are you going to say next? Listen, I don't have any jewelry, okay? You can't sell my jewelry, alright? Well, if you don't have any jewelry, why would you worry about me selling your jewelry? Listen, that was a loaded question, and you know it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time once again. Time to throw a rock at your TV. Why would I throw a rock at my TV? Okay. You get one more. You better make it a good one. Okay? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that it is that time once again. Time to make death threats towards your ex. Last week, what was it, 2 weeks ago? You said make death threats toward ISIS? And this week, it's towards my ex? Do you even know who I've had a past relationship with? You know what? I'm not even gonna... This guy. This guy. He's a can of worms. He's a can of worms. You want to talk about unpredictability? You found it here. Episode 60 of the Gut Wrench Podcast. Thank you all so much for joining me in this week's episode edition of the Gut Wrench Podcast. I'm the leader of the wrestling dynasty. Mocha. I'm named after something cool. Or something hot, depending upon how you drink your mocha. I'm not even sure how mocha is made, to be honest. I guess it's not really important whenever you get to thinking about it. I'm mocha. You're not. Thank you all so much for joining me for yet another episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast. Good night. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a wrap.